Bonjour, dear friends, welcome on the JCB Live Wine Style. This is a very, very exciting day. Look at how beautiful it is. We're in the heart of the Russian River in the beautiful estate of DeLoach Vineyards. I'm today with our fabulous friend, Joe Papendick, who runs all our incredible gardens and landscaping. Today, the vision is really to encourage all of us to start a garden. Why shouldn't we? I had the pleasure myself to garden since birth with my grandparents and parents. And I got the pleasure to touch, to feel, and to sense the earth with my hands and my fingernails and my barefoot. And it was really the beginning of a great contact with Mother Nature. So today, Joe is going to take us through this amazing tour of our garden, and more importantly, what we should be planting, what is in season, and it will echo the biggest campaign we're doing ever in the history of DeLoach to encourage everyone to plant a garden. Is there anything better than to go to your backyard and to realize that you've grown and helped Mother Nature to become herself? So we're starting with a glass of wine. Is it possible anyhow, Joe, to garden without a glass of wine?
Not possible. You need wine to garden well. Cheers.
Cheers, Joe. We are excited because this has been the beginning of spring. And Joe, we've been quite busy in the garden, haven't we?
We certainly have. Right now we're going to taste some of the bounty of the garden. We have our English peas that are just coming in for the first harvest. They're a little skinny. In another 2 or 3 weeks they'll plump up. But here's an example that's a perfect pairing for this Chardonnay. Pop it open. And
we are tasting the famous Russian River Valley Chardonnay. This is the incredible wine that our friend Brian Maloney and Katie Carter make from the heart of the Russian River. And I love it because it really brings a little bit of exotism, but some seriousness with the green peas, the beans. I had it last night, Joe, with fava beans.
Excellent. Yes, it's a good pairing.
Another cheer, because Joe, you need to drink when you cheer. If not, I heard, I'm not sure if it's true, but it's 7 years of bad sex. We don't want that to happen.
We don't want that. No.
Then I'll have your wife call me, so I'm going to be in trouble myself. So what do you think with the
peas? It's delicious. It's an excellent pairing. Peas are a wonderful spring crop. They can handle a little bit of frost, so if you're in an area that's cold, you can put them in the ground. We planted these peas back in February, and they're just coming in right now.
Beautiful. One. So is it fully organic? Explain to us, Joe,
yes,
the philosophy of what you encourage people as well to do. So, dear friends, principle of organic: no pesticides, no herbicides, no synthetic products. So Joe is the master. He does all the biodynamic preps, not only for the garden, the orchard, and as well the vineyards. So Joe, explain to everybody how you do it.
So the main philosophy behind organic and biodynamic farming is building healthy soil. The goal part is to have healthy soil, return to the earth, it will give back to you. It builds the strength of the plant to be able to fight off disease and to thrive. By building healthy soil, it's important to add compost, rotate your crops, and bring in diversity into the soil.
Soil is everything. It's like the internal of your body. This is the soul of Mother Nature. This is where you get the taste, the flavor of wine, and the taste of flavor of great vegetables. This is why certain flowers and vegetables fare better in certain environments versus others, because of what Mother Nature is offering to us. So this soil is non-amended, it's all compost driven.
It's compost driven. Idea is every time we plant, and we go between 4 to 6 different vegetable rotations in a year, we are applying more compost. Each time this plant is pulled out of the ground, of course, we're taking nutrients away from the soil. That has to be decomposed, all the plant matter, biomass that's here to be able to return to the soil, and each time keep feeding and feeding the soil so that it will return a bounty for us.
And for all of us who want to eat better, let's always remember we are what we eat. A healthy body is a healthy mind. A healthy soil is obviously a healthy crop. So what is so exciting here is you could see the earth, and I recommend, Joe, you show everybody that incredible earth we have here, because you've created the perfect.
Well, first of all, you can see that texture, being able to reach into the soil. It's nice and loose, it's aerated. You want the soil to be like a cake loam. So
let me smell. That smell is deep, is rich, and you feel there's life. You want life in the soil. As much as we love life above the earth, birds, insects, as we could see beautiful birds here, and you could hear even the sheeps from here, you want life in the soil as well.
That's correct.
Tell us about the roots and the importance of the roots for everybody who is willing to start gardening.
Well, the roots are entering, they're the one feeding and supporting the plant, keeping it upright. You need to have the right consistency of both air, soil, and water in that ground, in the earth, in the soil, to be able to feed the plant, but also the relationships you're saying with the plants, animals, ecosystem that's above ground. The same is happening below ground. Beneficial fungi, beneficial microorganisms are also in that soil, and they are interacting with those roots and feeding them energy, allowing them to be stimulated and to grow. In this bed, for example, we have 3 different types of plants. We have peas, the bachelor button, and fennel. All of those roots are also mingling and stimulating each other to be able to provide more growth. As you can see, I also have the plants are protected, so we don't have birds, snails, slugs.
Because everybody loves it.
Everyone wants to be here. And so we want to keep some netting over them.
We got to realize the root is the essential part, and you want to build competition. Just like in the world marketplace, competition is healthy. It's even more healthy for the garden and the vines. This is why within the vines, we create competition by letting grass grow or letting other crops grow. In the old days in Burgundy, and not that I'm that old, but half a century, I remember in the 70s seeing different crops. My grandparents between the vineyards used to plant asparagus, used to plant beets and potatoes and a few other crops in order to build this competition. Vineyards love it because it forces the roots to go deep. Same with your garden. I think, Joe, we just need to engage people as well to reuse their recycling vegetables, eggshells, and to build their own little compost, because that compost would, again, give additional nutrients to your soil.
Back to your soil. Everything that we're pulling out of the ground needs to come back into that soil.
It's a full circle. So, Joe, when people cook eggs in the morning, what do you suggest they do? Do they do a pile outside in the little garden they have and just start a compost pile like we have?
There's a number of different, depends on how much space you have. If you were in an apartment building in a city, you may not have that opportunity to be able to go outside, have a large space. You can separate though. Fortunately, most counties have excellent composting systems.
That's right.
Where you can give it back to it. So if you're in a small area, it is important to separate those eggshells, your green waste, into the compost. If you're in a larger property, or even in a town-size home, you can, yes, separate those. Few things you can do with eggshells. You can dry them out in a 1 bowl on your counter.
That's right.
Grind them up like with a mortar and pestle to have a very fine powder. And instead of having this netting, I could have laid the eggshells down in a long row to prevent snails and slugs. They won't cross the eggshells because they're too sharp, and that'll help to defend my plants from snails and slugs.
You see, this is an old technique that used to be inherited from centuries and centuries. Just the eggshell would avoid them to cross. Therefore, you protect with your own egg that was actually created and gave birth a full circle, eternal life. This is what's so cool. So I understand you were planting something else today. Maybe we should try another wine.
Yes.
And go and see it.
Sounds good.
I want to engage everyone as well to eat, vegetables raw. Can I try one more?
Yes,
The
certainly.
taste of those beans is insane. And we're trying to be healthy. We're talking tomato, we're talking beans, we're talking onions, we're talking obviously peach, apple, lemon, olives. This is incredible. This is as good as the wasabi beans that you may have in a sushi restaurant. So I really recommend, think of nature as raw as you could prepare, from your garden all the way to your plates, then to your body, full circle. This is what life is about. So Joe, let's walk to the tomato.
Tomato plants. We were putting some tomatoes in earlier today.
Love it.
Nice in the cool morning. Right now it's a little too hot and they're going to start to wilt, but we can see what we've planted. And
I just want to add, this is amazing, not only with seafood, but for all the vegetarians. All the people who are into the new diets that you can think of. This is an amazing wine because it's crisp, it's fresh, it's vibrant, it's ultimately very vivacious. I love it with this. Let's go. So now we're gonna do tomato. What goes very well with tomato, I really feel, is Burgundy Pinot. So we know the tomatoes are not yet ready. It's obviously the time to plant them, which is Joe will give us the best demonstration, because what's better than tomato in the summer with basil, mozzarella, or Parmigiano, or French cheese, of course. So what we're having with us is what is probably the best thing to do in Burgundy. You sit on a little clos, a little wall, you have a baguette, piece of cheese, a tomato, and a Bourgogne Pinot Noir, Les Ursulines. Why Les Ursulines? This is the old convent, the Ursuline order. Our winery was really originally founded in 1640. My parents jump-started, as I'd love to say, in our living room in 1961, and then we really transformed this amazing winery that is the Boisset winery. I can only imagine the sisters, Joe, enjoying a glass of wine on the edge of the wall of the convent, which has an amazing garden, similar to this incredible garden here at DeLoach, and really enjoying a glass of wine and reflecting on life. So let's reflect on first a toast. Why do you think this wine would go well with tomatoes? As long as we don't put too much vinegar, of course.
Well, the vinegar is the key. The acidity in this, which is so lively and wonderful and wakens your mouth up and your taste buds. Tomatoes also have high acidity.
Yeah.
And if you have a high acidity, it will compete a little too much.
That's right.
Or it can blow out the flavor. A very sweet tomato, that mozzarella you mentioned, or the cheese, will balance the tomato, get that creaminess, and it'll go really well with the brightness that's in this wine.
With the DeLoach olive oil, in fact, or the Oakville Grocery olive oil. One of the two. And sea salt on top, and this is heaven. This is orgasmic with nature. So, are we planting?
We are planting.
Let's do it. Very exciting here. My favorite vegetable to plant.
Tomatoes. We're now in the beginning of May. We finally have passed our time of frost. So that's the main danger. Tomatoes, the basil, the peppers, all those can be easily, quickly killed with a slight cold temperature at night.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure we're out of the window, and we are. It's nice warm weather. We can see a lot of weeds that, not in this bed of course, because we've already got it nice, but around the property, weeds that like heat are starting to germinate. So I know if they're growing up, the soil's warm, and that's going to be beneficial for the tomato to grow. So looking at observing what's also happening around us on the farm to know when it's at the right moment.
Yeah, so it's great to follow the calendar, and we have our biodynamic calendar, which is posted on our website, theboissetcollection.com, and you could see what to do when. But Joe is right. Let's listen and feel the rhythm of Mother Nature. Because sometimes it could be said, May 4th, May 5th, tomato planting, but you may realize it's not the right time at that stage because nature is ahead or behind. So I think you need to listen to Mother Nature as much as we listen to grapes and the sounds of birds as we have them to tell us what to do. So what kind of tomatoes?
And tomatoes. We plant all types of tomatoes here. We plant them for cooking, a paste tomato. We plant cherry tomatoes for snacking. This bed in particular is a red slicer, all different sizes, often called an heirloom tomato. You have Brandywine past you, which is that very large pink,
I love
fragrant
that one.
very juicy.
Yeah.
These are double rich, which is also similar in size to the Brandywine. Also an older variety that's been passed down from family to family. We have the...
And what is exciting is Joe has collected heirloom seeds. So he's doing his own seeds of each of those varieties of tomato that we've realized go very well with wine, Chardonnay or Pinot, or possibly Zinfandel if you had a lot of spice on your sauce or on your dressing. We love tomatoes as well warm. Let's not forget ratatouille. Last night, in fact, we cooked not perfectly ripe tomato, but you could catch up ripeness if you put them in the oven with great melted cheese on it. And it's very enjoyable. You have that with beans, and this is a healthy dinner.
Wonderful, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, it was. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Well, these won't be ready for another 3 months. It's going to take a while for them to grow, but we'll be ready in July, ready in August for delicious tomatoes. Planting them, this bed's already been loosened up. We prepped it with a digging fork, aerated the soil, bring in air, bring in water, allow for life, the life that's in the soil, to be able to have its ideal environment. Now that it's loose, it'll be easy to be able to reach in.
You can see how Joe is putting his hands right in there. Quite amazing. Look at that beautiful soil. I see all kinds of little things and worms in the soil. Very important, very healthy. Not only to go fishing, but to add the microelements that the soil needs.
Yeah, they'll probably do more work for us down here than they will when they're fishing.
That's it.
So these tomatoes, I'm going to put them in up to its, we have our first 2 leaves that came out of the seed. Tomatoes have the advantage of being able to put out their own roots from the stem. Not all plants can do this. So I can plant them a little bit deeper. I can plant them to its first, what I'd call true leaf. So this is a leaf, that's the tomato leaf, not the seedling leaf.
Interesting that the body of the tomato is split in 2. The one who brings the food and the one who collects the fruit. Pretty exciting when you think about the life of plant. Michael Pollan wrote the book, The Secret Life of Plant. I recommend everybody to read it. We've read it many times. It's phenomenal. But do you see how beautiful that's going to be?
It's going to take off. So the soil was already moistened, but this will need to have regular water. We have irrigation here that'll take care of that for us. But even on heat spikes, we'll need to add water by hand. And that's your key.
Here we are. Exciting. So we had today a Franco-American wine tasting. So we went from the best Burgundy styled Chardonnay in the heart of the Russian River to an amazing Burgundy Pinot. Not overly complicated. It's the regional level of our Burgundy Pinot. This is really the basic of what we produce. This is amazing though. It's rich, it's intense, and I think it's going to work very well if we decide tomato today with the flesh, the juiciness, the muscle of the tomato. I love to call it the muscle and the bones of it, because real organic tomato have a skeleton. They have a bone in the middle that allows you to separate them and to know exactly where to bite. So to nature, dear friends, and Joe, to your talent and your symbiotic relationship with nature, making it one. And this is why DeLoach Vineyards is so exciting. So don't hesitate always to call us, to email us, or to social media us with any question in the garden. Joe is incredible. He advises me in my own garden, and it's night and day versus what it used to be. So there's always a solution, and let's remember, let's listen to the rhythm and the biorhythm of Mother Nature. It creates spectacular wine and amazing food. And finally, we are what we eat. Cheers!